everyone. My name is Tausif Moore. I'm a PhD candidate in art history and a curator at the Berkeley Art Museum. In the beginning, they say, there was the Word. Through a series of convoluted processes involving inspiration, revelation, and just maybe perhaps a little bit of perspiration, the Word was transmitted. Like many people, I often wonder what language, what grammars, what forms of orthography, patterns of speech facilitated the word's passage. One answer is the language that could be understood. It's a good answer, even if it's not entirely satisfying. But is satisfaction the thing we're after? In the poetry of Justin Green, satisfaction, like the vagaries of language itself, is circumspect. On the one hand, to be satisfied would be comforting, but whose comfort? Comfort always comes at a cost. That cost is often borne by the self. So Green follows the self, the psyche, as it swivels to find the appropriate position from which to speak, write, exist. Robert Creeley heard words, and words full of holes aching. He knew that speech is a mouth. Like Creeley, Green, who is a PhD candidate in sociocultural anthropology, is trying to locate the place from which speech emanates, a hole inside a body, inside a thing called language. By this I mean that Green's poems are physical things, experienced on the page and in the throat, wrenching their way from one hole through another, getting caught in the stuckness and stutters which all expression must try to bear. The poems function as passages and portals, blooming across the page, sometimes crowding at the edges and swelling at the centers. They take us back to the 15th century, when the transmission of the word was thought to be a problem of spiritual occlusion, speech lodged in the organs of those unlucky to be tormented by the devil himself. We careen through 19th century convulsives and clinical cases, trembling under the hand of ill-informed practitioners wielding tonics and salves, sedatives and exercise routines. Again, the poem never said that comfort was the point. The passage, the transmission of thought into forms recognizable as language, with all of its stops and starts and hindrances, is the purpose. It's my pleasure to now introduce Justin Green.
That was absolutely beautiful. I'm like emotional over that. Thank you, Tausif, so much. Thank you so much to Catherine and to Solnaz for having me open, and thank you to Carolina for being here. I'm so excited to hear you read. After that, I'm going to start with a poem about bobbins. Tourette syndrome as bobbin extreme. Bobbin extreme may be held by either handle. Use your free hand to respond to commands. Should you have no free hands, try another available body part, perhaps your elbow, foot, or nose. Should your elbow, foot, nose, and other body parts all be unavailable, it may not be time to bobbin extreme. It is always time to bobbin extreme. Bobbin extreme is extreme. Bobbin extreme never sleeps. Bobbin extreme awaits your interference. Bobbin extreme never tires of repetition. Its orders are limited. Bob it, twist it, pull it, spin it, flick it, you know. Bobbin extreme adheres to a randomized order of commands. A randomized order is an order masquerading as disorder. A disorder is an interference of what is understood as order. Bobbin extreme shouts you its orders. When you hear bob it, you bop the bopper. When you hear twist it, you twist the twister. When settled into a rhythm, bobbin extreme will do its best to unsettle yours, your randomized order. The intended functionality of bobbin extreme can only be referenced with an imagined symbiont. You. You and bobbin extreme constitute an extreme body assemblage. Extreme body assemblage develops its own proprioception. Extreme body assemblage orders faster and rewards faster orders. To function as intended, extreme body assemblage requires concentration. To function as intended, extreme body assemblage must sustain itself through an unsustainable interference. To function as intended, fail to function as intended. This next poem I wrote 2 days ago because I believe in writing a poem for the occasion. Let's give it a go. Little epigraph by Hilda Hilst, Brazilian poet who I'm obsessed with, little translation I did. But there are phonemes, syllables, suffixes, diagrams skirting the back room without beginning. That the woman seemed fine on an earlier night and awoke as if she lived underwater, wrinkled, susurrating. This poem is called, pardon my French because I do not speak French, Bruit de Diable. I don't know if a relation really exists between hollow utensils and boats across all languages, or if noise derives from nausea in my own. Still, a seashell's thrum against my ear is neither ocean nor blood, but a beyond I will become. A devil noising the bony labyrinth, some benthic depth proven to exist by having learned to sound it out. Noise out of nausea, out of nos. A ship, a skiff, a sniff, a sniffle, a brittle, brutal bleat. A bleat, a fleet, a siege against a sea that swallows but cannot hold. Poltergeist. The polter of poltergeist means to clatter, bluster, jangle, rumble, crash about, clop into, roister, make a racket, a din, a noise. Someone is always responsible, or something is, and that someone thing is also always irresponsible, as if being noisy is just not being careful enough. The poltergeist tries communicating through its not language to announce that it is present and it wants a response. For someone to say its name even if it sounds impossible to pronounce, even if it is pronounced as a sort of impossibility, like being possessed. Every time I say the name Tourette, I am responsible for the noise, this possibility I really am. Functional assessment self-report form. If I can learn to do things that are less noticeable than my tics, the workbook suggests, this may make things a lot easier. To learn to do things that are less noticeable, I have to notice when I am at my most conspicuous. I am to complete a homework assignment each night, and this morning was now 3 days ago. Where was I? What was I doing wherever I was? What did I feel? Am I still feeling it? The form has so many boxes, and I am lucky to have such small handwriting. Each night I will practice my throat into something close to quiet, and if I could learn to do things that are less noticeable than my tics, I will no longer dream about situations in which I'm apologizing for things that can be made, as the workbook subtitled A Behavioral Intervention suggests, a lot easier. I will make a competing response for all the times I'm impelled to screech. I will train myself in habit reversal to mitigate potential relapse. I will avoid thinking about that language, my tendency to blame myself for what I cannot do or stop doing, but I've learned to do things like complete this form each night. Am I still feeling any reactions? My tics act up at night, nocturnal like I was before teaching myself to wake up at a sensible hour, and night is now neither end nor beginning but prolongation. So when I sound like I've been screaming for days, that's because I have been. I write my smallest letters in the form's small box, and all this smallness is an intervention in my throat. I used to allow myself to strain at home in a vague sense of comfort. Now I hold my breath even when I'm alone, even when it's too heavy to last, even when the form is filled and the next is filled and I'm not exactly empty, but less noticeably so. 2 more. This next poem is an erasure from G. de la Tourette, namesake of Tourette's case studies. So this is case number 3. GD presented at the age of 15 to Professor Charcot's clinic in February 1884 and was prescribed electrotherapy. The boy was almost a man, a wall, a terrible fright, making unusual, frequent movements, flexions, extensions, grimaces, a range of contortions under a tonic regime of 2 showers daily, and medical gymnastics for his use of the word shit, his shit movements resisting every means of treatment. Hydrotherapy, gymnastics, potassium bromide, sedatives, electrotherapy, discipline, failure to be less and less and less shaken by his shit condition. And this last one is a little multimedia moment, I guess. That's what I thought now. Okay, we're going to the 15th century for an account by an inquisitive priest in the time of Pope Pius II, after Heinrich Kramer's Malleus Maleficarum from 1486, believed to be among the first depictions of what would be called Tourette syndrome.
By my side with no signs of madness or the young man was sitting by my side with no signs of madness or immoderate action. His reason was more than what is usual in the case of persons possessed.
Oh, Father, deliver me. This devil has taken hold of my body, my organs, my lungs, my mouth, my tongue, my being, his words upon them all. Oh, Father, I cannot. Oh, Father, I can no longer help myself. Father, deliver me, my vile devil. I can help my devil self no longer. Father, I cannot deliver my deviler. Oh, Father, am I so vile? Am I no longer I? Can I not help the I admit only my vileness, my violence, my vehemence, my vibrance. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that really excellent reading, and I'm excited that two multimedia poets are here, actually. It's my pleasure to introduce Carolina Ebeid. Carolina Ebeid is a multimedia poet. She's the author of You Asked Me to Talk About the Interior, published by Naomi Press in 2016, and the chapbook Dar Wunder, A Brief Record of Facts, published in 2023. Her next book, Hide, is forthcoming from Grey Wolf Press in winter of 2026. Her work has been supported by the Stadler Center for Poetry at Bucknell University, Breadloaf, Canto Mundo, and NEA, and a residency fellowship from the Lannan Foundation. She is the Bonderman Assistant Professor of Poetry at Brown University. She currently edits poetry at the Rumpus, as well as the multimedia zine Visible Binary. Carolina grew up in West New York, New Jersey, in a Cuban and Palestinian family. I feel my eye before the punctum, a term from Barthes, as Ebeid notes at the end of her collection, You Asked Me About the Interior, for an object or image within a photograph that pricks or bruises its viewer. Take, for example, two moments from Ebeid's poems. A person's cut-off tongue clasped in the teeth of a pig. Tulips with brilliant throats. A poem is not a photograph, not literally, but in Ebeid's poems, I see the photo negatives woven by her hands. I see heavy shadow, image transfer, representations. I become the mirror her poems set before me. They double my own image. Ebeid's poems usher me willingly toward the inside. Here, I am in a room looking out a window. Her poem has given me the room and the window. The light filters in. Whatever is outside this room cannot see in, for the window is opaque. But the opacity of the window gives me a kind of privacy, a kind of freedom, just a room for being. In that room, poems sound, questions sound from the inside. Quote, all those gorgeous feelings, do they haunt you? Do they hunt you out? All those gorging feelings, how do you bed them down? And these questions let me know that I am also a window, that something inside me is looking out, and that I am on both sides of this window. I am looking out at another place from inside. I am outside, unable to look back in. For everything to become clear, a holy transfiguration would have to occur. A speaker in Ebeid's poem, Dear Bystander, pulls me close, begs another question. Friend, do you believe we are forever changed by the things we read? Do you think the things we read are changed by what happens to us after? Lately, and as Catherine has said, I read about Mahmoud Khalil and Lika Cordia, two Palestinian activists and prior students at Columbia University, abducted by the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I read about Israel's airstrikes that killed 400 people in Gaza on Tuesday morning under the ruse of ceasefire. What will we ask language to do now with the ongoing waves of repression by the Trump administration of those who protest Israel's genocide of Palestinians? Ebeid writes in another poem, as Catherine has also mentioned, Palestine, the metaphor, says to me, not, I'll not. And I think a lot about that refusal that her poem proposes. It seems to say, don't make less real. In the space of the poem, our figurations can refuse us, and the refusals can change us. Here's the world again, Ebeid's poems say, in harsh whisper of tongue that will rattle you awake to the punctum, that will interrupt the, quote, habit of hand that refolds the newspaper neatly, and instead ask us to name and unname, create and decreate, and by our own hand, make slant the very foundations we rely on to conceive of the world before us. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Carolina Ebeid.
Thank you, Erica, for such a generous introduction. It's an introduction, it sets the room. It's such a beautiful and strange genre. And thank you for taking the time. I know it's not easy to write. Reflecting me back to me. Let's see how this will work. I'm not finished saying thank you, so bear with me. I'm sad Solmaz's good buddy isn't here tonight, but I thank her for inviting me, and for everyone else who's helped make my visit possible, especially Catherine, and how lovely to join you, Justin, tonight. I'm glad you're returning to poetry. And then finally, thanks to all of you who have gathered here to listen to poetry. And what Catherine and Erica have said, it's a very acutely anxious time of intensified genocide and intensified repression in the protest of genocide. Think of what Diane de Prima wrote in her poem Grant. The only war that matters is the war against the imagination. All other wars are subsumed in it. And so my bid for you this evening is to protect the imagination within the fight and to keep a vigilant eye, which of course includes daydreaming. So Hyde gathers, I'm going to read tonight from Hyde. It gathers shreds of memory and dream and the ordinary artifacts of exile, what an exile carries, what an exile brings and keeps. And as a poet, I'm casting a sounding line into the patrilineal and matrilineal histories of my parents, into Palestine and Cuba. And I want to give a brief shout out to my cousin Sandra. I have 3 new cousins in the room. I'm meeting them tonight for the first time.
The mic. Push the mic.
Yes, I'm sorry. I hope I have been audible enough. Great. Thank you for reminding me. In my poetry, I'm interested in looking at these family archives, family artifacts like audio cassettes and documents and photos. And I'm interested in how the poem, I knew that was going to happen with the plosive, how the poem can superimpose as easily as film can. How poetry can superimpose voice upon voice and image upon image and disclose the choral noise inside post-memory, as Miriam Hirsch puts it. The book itself makes of the letter M a sigil, and poems trace the letter back to its Phoenician pictograph of waves, M being very much the picture of a wave. And it traces it back to reach my mother, Maria, who is dead, and the Cuban-American artist, Ana Mendieta. And I'm going to play a series of videos and read, and I'm going to begin with a letter to the poet Brandon Shimoda. Are you familiar with him in this room? Okay. So many technologies. The book being an older technology. Where do the ancestors gather? Brandon Shimoda. Dear Brandon, my son Patrick and I were at my computer typing words into Google Translate from English to Arabic. It's a computerized, generated voice that speaks the Arabic words. And when you press the listen button a second time, she speaks the words very slowly. The word for water, rose, war, sea, airplane, pillow, sky. Then I transliterated these sounds into my notebook. Then something happened, a glitch. When we refreshed the page, each previous pronouncement, each slow enunciation played for 10 minutes of simultaneous talking. We refreshed a second time and it happened again, a sudden marketplace of voices. I opened my phone's voice memo app and recorded it. I attach it here. Perhaps the ancestors are in the DNA and how it travels, having itself from body to body. In language and how language travels from mouth to ear. And what about glitches? Are they there? Can we say that they find a slit or tear in the digital universe to speak through to us? I need courage. Do you have any to send my way? And this was his response. I think all the courage is theirs. The women, their voices, all the marketplace. And in the permission they're giving, What were their voices before you and Patrick created the glitch, or where? You refreshed the page. That is what happened. You refreshed the page. The page has been refreshed. And now the marketplace comes to life. Glitch, a sudden surge of current. You have to use the telepathy machine. Feelings as artifacts. You have to use a channel, O, for the ancestor to pass through. Yawn her up from the white space. In alphanumeric names, they're cambered Arabic numerals. A Semitic pneumatic, a Numen. Do you recognize me? One. The one that is you listening. One always thought one would die at night. Nicht, noche, Nacht.
Except me. How much you call?
I can't even read the signs. So the second line, blue gorgeous, blue I mean. Very cool. Come on, let's just walk. Hey, you keep getting. Okay, nice t-shirt, huh? Memory.
Appall, verb to grow pale. Pall, noun, perhaps from pellis, skin. Altar cloth, coffin cover. Cover your mouth, your open mouth. Put your phone in the air. Videos of the body wrapped in cloth, under cloth. Shirin Abu Akle, under flowers, over shoulders. Repetitiousness of corpses, processions, wailing, public mourning, phones in the air, hand-covered mouths. Emerge the information out of the sound. Emerge the sound out of the child. Emerge the child out of the miracle. Emerge the miracle out of the burning car. Emerge the burning car out of music. Emerge music out of sleep. The sleep out of the throat out of the possibility. Butterflies swarm in the radar system. No service in the interior. Nuclear waste storage site miles underground. Flowers genetically modified to present information to future people. 3,000 years ahead. Warning flowers. M is a pictograph of waves. M, a microscripted ocean. M for meters of recorded testimony. M will be the mare looping out of the brain. M for milky syllables of mama, mammalian, memory. M of animal horns in the belly of a boat. M for the thousandth thousand. M del mar, de la madre. M in the mountains of a mind, a precipice. M, the mastery of you. M is manning the craft. M in the manner of unmooring. Aziza on the left, Miriam, my grandmother, on the right. Mid-1950s Birzet. My middle name, Miriam, bitter sea. In it, a measurable distance of minutes and miles and language and thought, and bulldozers wrecking the plot, and razor wire, and the black magnetic tape holding voices, also a measurable distance. My father has never gone back. They declared him an undesirable. His name typed on a list. They all had leaving in common. Miriam's hand on Aziza's shoulder is a homeland, Lena says. His name typed on another list among the minutes of the subcommittee. Are you grateful? Grateful? Grating? Any more is to admit. The circumstances of one's life come down from a great diminishment into smaller shreds. The dream. Rain with sunshine, waves in the Dead Sea. Are you grateful? Yes, says the shred part of the voice. In it, my Lord, the head becomes a seed pod inside the seed pod rattle. My Lord, something irreplaceable, irrefutable dies, something iridescent from the river to the sea. See the registers hidden in the cochlea, Lord, hidden in the gray matter, my Lord. You say you don't remember your dreams. You search for them like helicopter light on bushes. Lord, in it, something simplified, a hand touching a shoulder. Silhouette of crushed lipstick and mum petals. I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid. I was naked, so I hid. I was naked because I was afraid, I said to myself. Vox gone hidden in the imbecile garden. In the traffic, I hid me. Fear smells mineral, petroleum, sumac, rain blustered. I drink the drams from its awe-silvered limbs. I heard your voice purpling like bellies of Peruvian blues in various depths of soil, away from. Artificial lights, how they leave the leafy night looking icy in unfinished colors. I heard you say magenta, 3 syllables swarming out the voice box. The swarm brings back no mauvish, cyan crimson to your sightline, but some TV snow. A needle dragging skin dust along the vinyl grooves. Music acquires you in iotas. As traffic, as static, I heard you whirling round the vinyl dark, round and round. Adrenaline alters the hide and hair. I was afraid of the paradise in my ear. Disambiguation of Miriam. Ask her if she is cold. Ask her if she needs to hide. Fold her into a rectangle and slip her into your breast pocket. She will record the auditory data regarding the condition of the heart. Mother dreaming, mother turning into sleep, mother changing the channel, mother turning underwater. M mostly becomes sunflower head bending down. Here, the here-ness of a memory, mostly touchable. Mother becomes mostly asymmetrical. In Aramaic, mir is drop, and Iyam is the sea. Psychogeography. I was in Chicago in February, and I made my father stand against a wall, a white wall, while I projected onto him old family pictures from New Jersey, Baghdad, and Florida. That's the house where I grew up in West New York, New Jersey on 67th Street. You could see me in his arm, in a white dress if you zoom in. Adorno insists one must cultivate a sense of displacement in the world, so not to be at home in one's home. I had to tell Baba to say cheese as the roof bisected his mouth. My father was born in Jaffa in 1935. He holds an eidetic memory for the place as it was before 1948. He walked me down one of those streets on a port city, a neighborhood filed away in his 89-year-old brain. Remembering for him is projective, visual, spatial. He can see the cucumber stand in front of him, superimposed onto where I'm sitting. I push him for another sensory detail, noise, tastes, the feel of the air under a canopy in May. What do you hear on the street? Women selling cucumbers. Sing-song chants about whose cucumbers are bigger. What do you smell? Fish, oranges. I can smell orange blossoms, he says. Always take an auscultation of a bad photo. My mother is the partial one in yellow terry cloth, but because this is only a dream, she is also the exposed tree roots, the running child in a baseball cap, the grassy tufts, the peacock in my father's chest, the old gold Catholic pendants that I'm wearing now, my pixie haircut, the gesture between me and bird, hello, hello, don't come near me. The terrible years. You will call one future, the other history. Both are an elsewhere. There's the elsewhere of photographs in which memory turns angular, decal-edged. Here, in the gold film light of Baghdad, 1976, my father, younger, ambitious, political, on his way to a meeting with Saddam. or the elsewhere of an orchard growing quince, the nothing gentle elsewhere of dashcam footage, the elsewhere in the street view of the former lover's new address aglow in the palm. I remember the elsewhere of Peter Jennings' voice reporting from Baghdad, and that round city of Baghdad with its mechanical birds, their wind-powered throats, notes from a tree made entirely of gold. Another elsewhere, another history. Put your ear to this window. The city's plural rub. All the horrible days arriving, listen. Children stretch their spans before tombstones, practicing fame, pretending corpse life, which autocorrects to cop's life, and elsewhere where corpses begin to flower. For a decade, my father shouted in his sleep, words like darts nicking the velvet dark around the head, around the ears, and elsewhere it takes up its red residence in his head. Throw open now a dream brain up on the screen. See how it dims and shimmers, a city of quadrants and zones. It thinks it is awake, the dream auto-corrected by daylight. I want to read this one for Solmaz. I can't hear you when you're screaming. Line like a piece of twine. Line like a piece of dry grass, plank, nail, a finger pointing there, a finger, shush. Line like a cut sewn up, a rupture stitched. Like a bicycle cutting snow, a game of telephone. Line like a shift of cord between cans, mouth to ear to ear repetitions. A human chain, saving a driver from rush flood. A barrette. A strand of hair latched in. We are, each of us, from somewhere else. Aloft for city miles. The telephone wire. Line like City Avenue traffic. Dotted with Shit Avenue, where the horses have been. Horses become beautiful noise. Line like a string tied to a balloon. String tied to a door handle, tied to a tooth. Every time there's a boundary, we must appoint the messenger to cross it. Line like the space between a camera and the calamity. Line like an X-ray rib, like a track of menstrual blood down the thigh. Parade spectator line, trombone slide, a column of air inside, a column of air, and its spit trap. I can't hear you when you're whispering. A sun wind line, a line of hair blown into the camera eye. I'm going to read one more poem and then show one more video. Assume the role of Cassandra, wearing a mask, speaking into the camera. No, nothing, no thing, no where. The O of no blinks open. I think that you think that I think too much about grief. It's not only mine. We're in the same current. You won't hear it blazing always in the unprocessed wind under the voice recording. I wear my nerve halo, a handful of seeds, a breakdown in the blood-brain barrier. It's come to this, the interstate, with star-shaped plants and mile markers that multiply one's belonging. Can you hear the low pulse tree growth consuming the fence? Books are states of consciousness, a record. What won't finally kill you, you eat its tongue. Holy, I'll make the alphabet for interrupters, malcontents. Holy is the person who digs the person out the rubble into graves. About you, whether it will taste metallic in the overnight visuals. Something light dark, slick, liver wet. Put a whisper into a jar. A war trots out of your chiaroscuro head. This next and last video poem contains the video glitch, the sound glitch that I recorded of the ladies, which my husband has started calling aunties in the glitch. And you'll hear them, they'll just be voice upon voice later in the video.
The human is the talking animal. The human is the thinking animal. The human is the walking upright animal. The human is the burying animal.
Thank you so much for your attention. Okay, now for a karaoke party.
I wish.